Welcome back to another episode of the Next Level Minds podcast. My name is Chris Chapman, and I am your host. If this is your first time tuning in, then this is a podcast dedicated to those who want to reach a next level in their faith, family, fitness, finances, and embrace the American freedoms that we have in this amazing country. The way in which we help do that is through a couple different avenues. Number one, we interview various guests and really talk through their story of how they've gotten from point A to point B and overcame various setbacks, adversities, and failures along the way. We also host solo episodes where I talk through various personal development related topics. We also have a newsletter called the Next Level Minds newsletter, and then I personally create a significant amount of content throughout Instagram and LinkedIn, and you can follow me at Chris Chapchap on Instagram and Chris Chapman on LinkedIn. Our goal here is pretty simple. It's really just to impact over 1 million people. So the way in which you can help with that is by, number one, listening to this episode. Number two, if you get some value out of it, share it with a family member, friend, or colleague. Number three, leave a review on Apple Podcasts. Let me know what you think. And really, number four is just shoot me a DM and really just tell me what I could personally be doing better as the host of the Next Level Minds podcast. But on to today's episode, which is actually a solo episode. As a reminder, we interview guests, but we also do solo episodes. And really the topic today is advice and kind of a how to become a millionaire. And there's actually a fun fact out there that in the United States, there are around 1,000 new millionaires every single day. So you could be one of them. And I personally want this episode to help you get closer and closer to that goal if finances is an important pillar in your life. And if you do have a goal to become a millionaire, I firmly believe that this episode will help you. And it's really brought to you by a wide variety of different perspectives, some learning lessons that have personally happened to me from various interviews that I've done with guests who are extremely wealthy, and really just from my own research, from books, podcasts, YouTube videos, things of that nature. But first and foremost, first step, in my opinion, is to increase your income. I think a significant amount of people that I talk to about finances, they spend so much time trying to think of, okay, how can I cut costs? How can I scale back? But they don't spend much of their time asking themselves, okay, what can I do to increase my income? And I think becoming wealthy is a combination of obviously, living below your means, but at the same token, it's significantly easier to do that if you can increase your income at a year-over-year basis. And I think the first step in increasing your income is actually making that decision that, like today, I want to start taking the processes, the steps, the procedures, the habits, the routines to increase my income. That is a goal that I have, and that is what I'm going to do, right? So I think concretely deciding, I want to increase my income. The second step to increase that income, and a lot of this comes from a previously posted episode, but I am going to summarize it a little bit, is to believe that it's possible. Right? From the book Magic of Thinking Big, talks about that your success will only be as big as your belief system, right? So if you only think you can make 100, then you'll only make 100, right? Set that belief system that, I want to make X amount of money, even if it's a grandiose vision. I want to make X amount of dollars by this time, by this date, right? How big you think determines the size of your accomplishments. Another great quote from the Magic of Thinking Big. So you got two things, right? Increasing your income, the two things there is deciding you want to be wealthy, deciding you want to increase your income. Second thing to increase that income is believing that it's possible, right? Your success is only as big as your belief system. Third thing is analyzing what skill sets, characteristics, attributes you personally have that will personally make you money. Everybody is different. Everybody has different skill sets, characteristics, attributes, behaviors, right? For me, I'm a relationship guy, right? So I'm naturally good at sales. I'm naturally good at account management. However, maybe somebody who's more analytical, more data-driven, right? They could be more on that engineering side of things, right? So analyze, okay, what skill sets do I have? What are some of my God-given talents? What are some of my God-given personality traits? And how can I use these personality traits to make me money, right? Fourth thing to increase that income is become obsessed with learning, right? The most successful people I know, I'm talking some people that I've met that are worth hundreds of millions of dollars, are obsessed with learning and really mastering their craft and whatever that craft may be. I actually listened to a podcast today as I'm recording this podcast, and it was Lessons from Billionaires. And one of the core themes in this episode that talked about lessons from billionaires was that they're obsessed with learning, right? They're obsessed with becoming just extremely well-versed in their business, extremely well-versed in whatever they're doing on the day-to-day operation. So that fifth step to increase that income is, that fourth step to increase your income is just become addicted to learning. And then the last two to increase that income, because again, we're spending so much time here because I firmly believe that if you want to become a millionaire, you have to increase your income, as it will be significantly easier. And we'll get to how and why that is in a little bit. But the fifth step here to increase your income is become obsessed with becoming the absolute best version of yourself that there is, right? It all starts with their habits. It all starts with your routines, your behaviors. Become the best version of you, and naturally you will make more money. Sixth, find a reason bigger than yourself to motivate yourself to make money. For example, every morning, at least during the week at like 5:10, 5:15, I have an alarm go off that says, Chris, your family is counting on you. Remain disciplined and committed to greatness. I also have at work where I'm tracking my sales quota, and I have all my numbers and what I need and all this stuff. But below that, I have the reasons why I want to make that money. And so find out that sixth step, a reason bigger than yourself, just to motivate you to make more money, right? Like if it's just yourself, find a reason bigger than that. So I know we're quickly talking through that, but because I just summarized an episode that I've already posted on how to increase your income. But again, recapping this real quickly, decide that you want to increase your income. Number 2, believe that it's possible. Number 3, analyze what skill sets you have. Number 4, become addicted to learning. Number 5, become obsessed with being the best version of yourself. And step 6 there to increase that income is find a reason bigger than yourself as to why you want to make more money. So that's a big first step there, is increasing your income. So second thing here is live below your means, right? Following up on the increase your income. And I've shared this before on the podcast. When I first graduated, I met this guy. He was worth millions and millions of dollars. We had a great conversation. And one of the biggest tips he gave me was, hey, you want to be successful? And I was like, yeah, obviously. And he was like, listen, every single year, try to increase your income 10 to 15% per year, but live at the same expense level. And so what naturally happens is you start saving and investing more and more and more and more of your money if you can increase your income, but then you keep your living expenses the same. So how do you live below your means? Well, I personally believe you got to set up a budget. Multiple ways to do this. There's apps, there's Excel, there's good old-fashioned pen and paper. Set some sort of budget. Also, many banking apps have budgets built into them, right? Set some sort of budget, follow that budget. For me, I use Excel where I track, what I spend on groceries, what I spend on, gas, what I spend on going out to eat, what I spend on travel. Like I know to an absolute cent exactly how much money I'm spending, and I can look back and be like, you know what? All right, maybe I should do less in this category, less in this category. And the way that I have the budget set up is that I can spend a certain amount of money per week. And as long as I don't spend over that certain amount per week, and that includes like dividing my mortgage payment into a weekly payment just for tracking purposes. That includes like all my monthly bills I divide out into weekly for this budget. And as long as I don't spend over X amount, I will save, another X amount that I have at the end of the month. So get some sort of budget, right, that you can track and you can honor it. Living below your means. Another tip I have is no impulse buys, right? Like the other night I was like, man, I really want this pair of shoes. They're like $70. I was like, I really want this. Should I buy it? And I was like, I'm going to sit on it for 2 days. 2 days popped up, looked at the shoes again. I was like, you know what? I don't really want these. I have some similar ones. Why do I need ones that are like a slight different color? I'm good, right? And the amount of times I've done that over the last like 7 years, I personally think I've saved probably like thousands and thousands of dollars from doing that. Like, so no impulse buys. Wait 48 hours for any like bigger purchases over $50. Also, living below your means, like limit going out to eat. Jacqueline and I, we still only go out to eat like probably once a week. Other than that, we meal prep. We have a high quality meal prep, right? We spend a decent amount at the grocery store, but it's significantly cheaper than going out to eat. multiple times per week, right? So limit going out to eat, limit buying drinks, limit things you don't need. Like put a limit on yourself. Maybe you don't need that like fourth cocktail that's $18. Maybe you could have a couple drinks at the house before you go out. So you only need like one drink while you're going out, right? Like limit the things that you don't need. And then the third thing here is going back to that why. Like just as I mentioned earlier, find a reason why that's bigger than yourself that you want to make more money. Also find a reason bigger than yourself why you want to live below your means and what you're going to do with that excess capital. That brings me to my third step here on the millionaire advice, strategies, how to, etc. And that is to invest your money, right? Multiple ways to do this. And from legality reasons, I'm not telling you or suggesting any particular avenue here. That's for you and yourself to figure out where you actually want to put your money. But I will tell you, there's multiple avenues. There's stocks, there's real estate, there's high yield savings. Obviously, stocks can cause a risk, but if you look up the S&P 500, which is the top 500 companies, essentially, over the last 90 years, the S&P 500 has returned right around 10%. So you can literally invest your money in funds that historically track the S&P 500. And again, based on past data, historically have a very, very high percentage chance of returning around 10% per year. There's multiple books out there that say like if you just put $500 in a month from age like 23 to 60, you'll have millions of dollars by the time. Again, like that's based on that factual number that says the last 90 years the return's been around 10%. But like there's multiple graphs that show, you know, if you start putting money in right when you quote unquote graduate college around 22, 23, where that money will be. So invest that money. There's stocks, real estate. Real estate is an appreciating asset. I have a primary residence, but also have a rental property. Both the primary residence and the rental property have appreciated quite a bit year over year, right? So that's another great avenue to put your money in. And then high yield savings accounts, right? You're not going to get any big returns there. You're going to get anywhere from like 3.5 to like 5.5%. But it's a good way to just, if you have an emergency fund, which an emergency fund, I always suggest having, anywhere from 3 to maybe 10 months worth of expenses. It's a good way to just have that emergency fund, kind of just continue to grow over time. So yeah, stocks, real estate, high yield savings. Going back to that second point of living below your means, take that excess capital, invest that money, multiple avenues to do so. That's for you and yourself to find out, but invest in your money, compound significantly over time. Fourth step or fourth kind of just strategy or advice tip is surround yourself with millionaires, right? That could be through in-person networking, high-end hotels and restaurants. I've gone to some high-end restaurants and just met some folks at the bar and started talking, and it turns out this random person I'm talking to is worth like millions of dollars. Now, no, I did not say, "What are you worth, sir?" I'm just in context of talking to him and hearing, "Oh, you own this business with this many employees." That, as we get into business conversations, like I'm just kind of putting two and two together. Multiple ways to network with these people, right? Find somewhere in your town that has a nice restaurant and, go there for a happy hour every now and then, and you'd be surprised the amount of people you meet. If you don't want to do that, there's digitally through social media. Like there's thousands and thousands and thousands of successful people on social media from all walks of life that have a wide variety of businesses and careers. Through Instagram, through LinkedIn, you can connect with these people. Like we live in a digital era where you can literally connect with anybody. You can also surround yourself with millionaires through podcasts. The amount of podcasts that I've listened to that just walk through people's stories who've achieved millions and millions of dollars. There's a great one out there called My First Million. This guy literally just interviews very successful people. Same with the Next Level Minds podcast. Like we haven't really dove into finances too heavy on my podcast, but I have interviewed a wide variety of very successful people that come from all walks of life. So fourth advice tip is surround yourself with millionaires. Fifth thing is track your finances. Now, we already kind of talked about this with the budget aspect of tracking your spending, what's going where, how much you're spending in certain categories. By the way, if you need an Excel spreadsheet there, hit me up on Instagram at ChrisChapChap and just say Excel. And I have a template that you can download. But fifth thing is track your finances. And when I say finances, what I'm meaning there is net worth. I think it's very, very important to do this. There's multiple websites where you can do this. I personally like to use Empower, which used to be called Personal Capital. What's super cool about it is, and this is not an ad or anything like that, but I just really like the platform. You can put in like all your checking accounts, your savings, your investments. You can put real estate, you can put your mortgages. Like you basically just put all your assets and liabilities. It's one of those things that takes like probably an hour to set up, but once you do, it just kind of runs itself. And then you can just log on every day. I have the app as well, and you can just track your net worth. Which as you start to get more and more in the stock market, you'll see like some pretty interesting swings in your net worth, just because the stock market does fluctuate like a good bit every single week and month. Again, going back to that like fact that I mentioned earlier, the S&P 500 returned on average around 10% over the last 90 years, but there's definitely like decent amount of swings in between that. So find somewhere to track your finances. I have people that track their net worth on Excel. Still a viable method, but you're going to have to go in there and manually update it yourself. I can log on to empower.com and like my house address is plugged in there, and I can see like, oh, now my house is worth $5,000 more than it was like 3 months ago. Oh, my stocks have gone up 15% last month, right? Like, it's a super, super cool way to kind of track your finances there. But point being is find a way to track your finances. I firmly believe that if you don't track things, you don't measure things, then it's super difficult to actually get a viable outcome there. So recapping kind of this advice style episode on how to become a millionaire. First and foremost, increase that income, right? We went through multiple steps there. It's going to be significantly easier to become a millionaire if you can increase your income. 2 is live below your means, right? Get that budget set up, no impulse buys. Remember that 48-hour rule before buying a purchase over $50. Invest your money multiple ways, methods, vehicles to do that: stocks, real estate, high yield savings, significantly more than that as well, but just wanted to kind of touch on those 3. 4th is surround yourself with millionaires through networking, high-end hotels, restaurants, things like that. Go out, meet successful people, digital avenues as well through Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. And then 5th and final, track those finances and those net worth goals that you have through apps, Excel, things of that nature. But just wanted to share some helpful tips that I've kind of learned along the way, and that I've learned from a number of different guests that I've had on the podcast, and that I've personally learned from listening to a lot of podcasts myself. But hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Hope you got some value out of it. As I mentioned earlier, if you did get some value, definitely share this episode with a family member, friend, or colleague. Other than that, I hope everybody listening has a fantastic week ahead.